Hey everyone, let's make this logo. Make a new document. Grab the ellipses tool and make a circle in the middle of our page. Then we'll grab the line segment tool and we'll make a perfect line above and below the circle. So just make sure it's all lined up. One across here, and we'll grab the same line, hold Alt, hold Shift, and drag it down. Just underneath it. We'll select both of these lines and we'll turn them into white lines. It'll make it easier for us to see it a bit later. We'll make the top one, we'll go 3 or 4 point. We'll go 4 point, and we'll keep the bottom one as 1 point. We'll select both of these, and we'll select the blend tool. With the blend tool selected, we have to select the 2 points we want it to blend between. So in this case, we want the left-hand side here, and the left-hand side anchor point down here. Now you see that that's made a bunch of steps, a bunch of lines going from this line to this line. It's not very exaggerated, so I'll show you exactly what it does. Double click on the blend tool with the blend selected, and change the specified steps, tick preview just so we can see what we're doing, and we'll move this up. And we'll slowly see it's adding more and more lines. And we'll go to our desired effect, which is about, we'll go 30 lines. Now, it's meant to go from thick to thin, and you can see it here, but it's not very well defined. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the top of our line, and we're going to change that stroke to be thicker. Now what you'll see as I do it, that it's actually noticing and changing it throughout the entire stroke. So now we have this much more defined blend tool running down the page here. So now that we have this, we need to make this red circle in behind. We've got to make this red. So we'll try and select it through the middle of it. Boom, first shot, no problem. And we'll select a red. Okay, now let's expand this blend tool. So select your blend. Click on Object, Blend, Expand. That'll turn them into individual strokes. All these strokes, you can no longer blend them, you can no longer edit them. They are now strokes. Now we all know I hate strokes, so let's expand these. And just the stroke, not the fill. So that was Object, Expand. And that turns them all into nice, beautiful, editable lines. Okay, so we're going to turn this into a compound path. The reason why we want to do that is we want to group them all together. So if you hold Control or Command and press 8, they'll turn into a compound path. They've actually lost their color, so we can quickly change that back by clicking on white or double clicking on the palette and finding white. So now we're back to exactly where we were before, but the blend has a different setting to it. We're going to select all of them, and we're going to go Window, Pathfinder. We'll get our Pathfinder up. Now you want to use intersect. That is the wrong one. It's minus front. Yep, I always get these wrong. Minus front. There we go. Perfect. I mean, I never get these wrong. And so now there we go. We have our individual shape, which we can now edit however we want. It's no longer two elements. It's just being cut out of it. So now we want to turn it into more of a horizon. And to do that, we'll need to have a line running across it. So we'll place this line across the bottom, and we'll give it a red stroke, just a 1 point, nice and thin. And we'll make sure that it's centered so that equal left-hand side and right-hand side works. And it shouldn't be too far out. Here we go. That's fine. Yep, no issue. Okay, so we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to select both of these. And we want to get rid of these bottom 4 here so that it looks actual like a horizon. So we'll grab the Shape Builder tool, and we'll hold down Alt, and we'll just drag down through these, and we'll get rid of all of them. And there we go. Well, what we'll do, there's a bit of a space between here and here. Obviously, that's where the gap's meant to be, but we'll just move this line up so it meets in there, so it looks like the actual sunset fades into the line. So that's the beginning of it. There you go, you have a horizon. Now we're going to use a font called Niveau. Niveau Grotesque is a beautiful font from the Adobe Typekit. I thoroughly recommend it. Be careful not to overuse it because it is that good. So NI, here we go. And we've got roughly about 10 weights to it, which is great. A lot of variety there, a lot of uses for it. So we'll make this a bold. I've got a feeling it's going to make a good bold, and we'll make it all capital. We'll make this bigger, and we'll bring it down a little bit. Now the beautiful thing about this font are the way it treats some of the letters. And you'll see around this W here and around this N here, these natural kicks. Perfect kerning between anything. Usually you have to go in there and muck around with a few things. You'll probably bring that in a little bit. That was just hold down Alt and press left or right, and you can increase them or decrease them. Just make sure the spacing's correct in all of them. But that seems to be really good. It's a professional font. It's a very, very good font. And now we're going to blow the kerning out anyway. So hold down Alt and press right, and that's going to blow it up. We don't want it too wide. We just want to give it a bit of spacing in between to kind of reflect the same spacing between the lines in the sunset. Just gives it all that visual harmony. Could have used a better word than harmony. I don't know why I said harmony. Let's change this to a light grey or a dark grey. And that will be our red dawn. And now underneath it we need to write entertainment. So we'll just hold down Alt and we'll drag down, make a copy of it. It's easier to do that because it's the same font, it's the same everything. We'll change this to light. So there's a really big contrast between the two. And we'll just type in entertainment. It's a little large. We don't want it to overshadow the actual name. So we'll make that nice and small. Maybe even smaller than the name. And hold down Alt and press right to increase this. Now just to be a little bit pedantic, which is a good thing, we'll just get some guides out. Either side of this name, and we'll just make sure this is sitting in the middle. So we'll just make that a little bit larger. If you hold Control and press T, you'll bring up your character menu, and see every time you press Alt left and Alt right, it moves it by 20, and sometimes that's too much. So we'll just go and change this to 250, and we'll just slide it across a little bit, and that's 90% perfect. Okay, we'll make it 100% perfect. Cool. That's great. All right, and we'll get rid of these guides, or we can keep them in there if you'd like to use them later, and hold Control and press colon, and that'll disappear. They'll get out of your way for you. Now we'll move this a little bit closer. There's a bit of weird spacing in between here. And we'll move this down. So there you go. That's a good looking logo. It looks really, really good. But we want to give it a bit more of a sunset feel. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a gradient in there. Now gradients can look very, very tacky if used, if the color variation's too hard. So just try and make it a soft, subtle gradient that you usually see in the environment, and it won't draw that attention unless that's specific purpose of what you're actually trying to achieve. So we'll grab the gradient tool. Left to right's okay. Make it a little bit longer. So you just drag it a little bit left and a little bit right of the actual circle. And we'll go and change these points here. This first color, we'll go RGB. I've written down the values as always. F20014. That's going to be a nice bright, super bright red. On the other side, we're going to make it a bit of a purple. We'll go 93005E. And there we go. So I already adjusted it before. You're welcome to play with it again as far as the gradient length. But I've got a very nice subtle gradient going along here. I think that's working really well. And just to contrast it with down here, I'm going to create outlines here, and I'm going to use the same gradient down here. So once we've made a gradient, if you click on the gradient selection and click on this little, almost looks like a download icon, it'll actually save it to the document. And you can use it here, and so if you're changing colors and things like that and it disappears, you can always come back here to find it. So we'll just highlight entertainment and we'll press the gradient tool. And what that'll do is click on the gradient down here. If you click it just as is, you'll notice that it's created a gradient among each individual letter, and that looks super tacky. So we'll select it, we'll hit on the gradient tool, make sure it's selected, and we'll do the same gradient pull from left to right. And now it just makes one that follows along with the top of the sun. What we do want to do lastly to finish this up, we'll change this black into a charcoal. And there we go. We've got a beautiful Red Dawn Entertainment logo, and now you guys know how to use the blend tool. It's a great tool. You can use it through absolutely everything. It just changes it from one shape to another shape, and you can get really funky and really creative with some of the ideas there. So don't just stick to lines. Go from circles to squares. Go from strokes to fills. Do anything, and you'll be surprised at the cool things you can get from that. Thank you very much, guys. Subscribe if you like this, and I will see you all next time.